Hey everybody, this is Jake with Myers Flies, and today we're going to cover a topic that I think a lot of people are interested in, and that's catching more fish. And not just that that's the reason why we go out onto the water, but it does help when we catch more fish. So we're going to talk about ways that we can catch more fish, and maybe more importantly, have a better experience while we're out on the water. So we're going to talk about three things that I think we can do to enhance our time on the water, improve your skills as a fisherman, and just to be a better all-around angler, and that is to change our routine. I think this is important because we get so used to doing the same things, going to the same places, using the same equipment, and we expect the same thing every time we go out. We get into a good hole, we catch a really nice fish out of there, so as soon as we go back to that creek, we think we got to go back to that hole because that's where we're going to catch that big fish again, and oftentimes that's not going to happen. And so today I want to talk about three specific things that we need to change in our routine. That is, number one, our region. That is where we fish. If you're going to go to the same 2-3 streams all the time, those fish are going to get educated to the same flies that you use all the time, and it's not going to be productive. And you're just not going to catch the same fish every single time in the same streams that you go out. You got to give those streams a rest and give them a break. And so if we change our region, that is, get a couple different places and go a couple different streams, look up some things. I'm going to show you a few things here in just a minute, but change your region. And then number two, your rig. That is what you're using, those flies that you use. Maybe you're only using dry flies and you just go to the stream and you wait an hour till you see something hatch, and you try to match it and go with your dry flies. If that's what you're into, that's fine. But I think we need to be proficient in using dry flies, using nymphs, swinging wet flies, streamers, etc. And so maybe you just need to change that up a little bit, because fish are eating different things all the time. They may be eating the little nymphs on the bottom. They may switch to something, maybe something's emerging, they're coming up in the water column, whatever the case may be. So think about changing up your rig. Change how you fish, whether it's tight line or an indicator fishing. Change that rig up. So your region, where you fish, your rig, what you're using, and then your reaction or your response when you go out. That is what we expect when we go fishing. What's your reaction if you don't catch fish? Do you get mad? Do you get angry? If you're not having a good day on the water, and we all had those days, you're getting caught in trees, you're snapping off on rocks, something happens, somebody crowds in on your spot. What's your reaction when you go fishing? If you catch fish, are you happy? And you don't catch fish, you're sad or you're mad, etc. So let's change our reaction. Stay positive. And I want to talk about a few of those things today. That's coming up on this episode. Hey guys, in this segment we're going to be talking about maps. We talked about changing up our region if we want to become more proficient anglers and catch more fish, have a better time while we're out there in the field. These are maps that come from the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, and I don't know what other states provide, but I know that these are free of charge here in the state of Pennsylvania, and all you have to do is call or write or go on the website of the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, and they have these maps that are broken down into 6 regions. This is the southeast region of Pennsylvania and all the streams that are in them. And then they also have the southwest region. They have the north central. We have south central, which I'm going to show you here in a minute. Inside of that map, you can see that there are streams that are named, road names. There's parking areas. There's also color coding. It shows you stocked waters. It shows you wild streams, Class A streams. And so if you just get these maps, guys, of the area that you want to fish, or maybe they're around your house, get some of these maps, look at them, pick a spot, take a Saturday or an evening, and go out and just do some exploring and try to locate some of these streams, access points. A lot of times if you ask a homeowner, they will let you go in and access through their property. So if we're going to catch more fish and we're going to have a better time out on the water, we have got to utilize some of these resources that we have and change your region. That is, get out there, explore. There's some beautiful water that our Heavenly Father created, and we enjoy being out in God's creation. I enjoy taking my kids out there, but if you want different results, you've got to do something different. And so change your region, get out there and explore. Hey everybody, in this segment we're going to talk about our rig, and that is whether we use dry flies, nymphs, streamers, swinging wet flies. But if you just only use dry flies or only use nymphs or you only use streamers, you are limiting yourself, because the fish aren't always going to eat a streamer, or they're not always going to eat a nymph, or they're not always going to take a dry fly. So you have to be versatile. I think one of the key elements to being a successful and a proficient angler is being able to mix it up, being able to understand, okay, they're not taking this right now. I've tried it, I've presented it accurately, I've worked my water, I've made my little grid, I've worked through my drifts, I know I've covered this area really good. If there was a fish in there, it would have taken it. So you've got to be able to change stuff up. I have a couple nymphs right here that you can see are some things that I like. There's the hare's ear, there's a little sexy Waltz worm, there's a little caddis, and so these are just some of my favorites that I use on some of my local water. But I can't always just use these nymphs. Sometimes I've got to be able to change that up, and let's throw in some streamers, something totally, the opposite here is one of these big streamers. This is a brownie buster that my nephew Ethan came up with. We got a little trailer hook back here, and this brownie buster does really good for us, and we catch a lot of fish with this brownie buster. But again, it's a big fly. I mean, that thing's almost 3 inches long. But you got to be able to mix it up and put some weight on this, drift it through those big holes, get them down under those logs, those cut in banks. Don't be afraid to mix that up. Sometimes I'll throw in like a little crayfish pattern. I like these little crayfish. You can take those, put some weight on them, take them to the bottom, and just kind of bump them. Just kind of drift them and pop it along the bottom. Little sculpins. We tie up some sculpins there. You can see these on our website and on Instagram. You can check those out. But don't be afraid to mix it up and use those. Also, you've got to be able to go into some dry flies. We've got a little caddis fly here. We've got a little beetle over here. So be willing to offer up something different. So go to that dry fly, or go to a dry dropper where you're going to take the dry fly and then tie a tag off of it and put a little emerger or something off of that. So be willing to change these things up. Be willing to change these things up. So guys, if you're going to make a difference in the way you fish, if you're going to become a more proficient angler, you've got to change the region. You've got to get out there. You've got to try different spots, and you got to try different flies. Don't get in the same rut all the time. I've got some big boxes with some dry flies. I got nymphs, smaller nymphs, and then I always keep my big streamer boxes, and of course I've got a bunch of these other boxes around. But you've got to be able to change up that rig. You got to be able to change weight. If you're tight line nymphing or check nymphing, a lot of times I don't have any split shot on my line, just a real long leader. I've got the heavy weighted flies, tungsten flies that are wrapped with lead, and that's all the weight that I have. But you get into some really deep water and you might have to add a split shot in there, or you have to go to a really heavy anchor fly. You got to be willing to change up. You got to notice what's going on, adjust that rig. Sometimes people only fish with an indicator, and if that's what you're used to, that's what you're comfortable with, that's what you're always going to do. But there's so many times where an indicator, whether it be the wind or whether it be the water, whether it be trying to get from one seam into another seam, and your indicator's running at one speed and it's dragging your nymphs along. It just doesn't make a good presentation, and so the fish are going to reject that. Or it might be that because of the difference in the speed, that the fish takes the fly, spits it out, and you never even notice it. So don't be afraid. Change up that rig and try some different things, and I guarantee you have a better time on the water. Hey guys, in this last segment, I want to talk about our reaction or our response to fishing. I think one of the big things in changing our routine and catching more fish, having a better time out on the water, is just changing our reaction and our response to our fishing situation. So many times you go out fishing and you get snagged or you get caught up in a tree, something goes wrong, and right away you get mad or you get angry, and so it just gives you a bad vibe, gives you a bad feeling, and you think, man, I'm not going to catch any fish. You got to stay positive. And just because you don't catch fish today, you can have a skunk day, or you can have a one fish day, two fish day, and then the next day you go out, next time you go out, you can be, double digits. And it's just the way it goes. It could be the fish aren't biting, or it could just be we weren't presenting them and offering them exactly what they were wanting to eat. But if we're going to have a better time out on the water, we have got to change our reaction. Let me ask you something. Why do you fish? Why do you get out in the outdoors? If it's simply to catch fish, post pictures on Instagram, and have everybody like it, chances are you're not going to get the most out of this sport. In fact, that's, in my opinion, is just a very small mindset in fishing. Our God, our Creator, made a wonderful world. There are some beautiful things, and if you live in Pennsylvania, I'm a Pennsylvania boy. I love this place, and I love my state. And so beautiful scenery out there, some great mountain streams, and so get out there, enjoy that smell, take a deep breath of fresh air. Get out there and smell that dirt. Smell those trees in the seasons. Listen to those animals. The sound of the creek for me as a pastor and just being around a lot of people. I love ministering to people, and I love my job. I don't know what you do for a living, but there's just sometimes you got to get away. You got to break off and just meditate a little bit. And for me, getting in that stream, feeling that water beating up against me, hearing it splash off my waders, smelling that water, getting into that environment is just a tremendous atmosphere for me and a real big stress reliever. And so what's your reason for fishing? How about making memories with your kids, your family? Some of my favorite times are being on the water with friends and family, and them catching a big fish, or me catching a big fish, or nobody catching fish, but you just have a really good time. Somebody falls in the water, or something happens very memorable, and you just laugh about it the whole day. And that's what it's about. It's about making those memories. So change that reaction and how you respond to your day. Just stay positive, and if you have a bad day today, just stay at it. So if you're going to do better in fishing, if you're going to catch more fish, if you're going to have a better time on the water, change your region, change your rig, and change your reaction, and I'm sure you'll have a better time on the water. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, MyersFlies.com. Thanks for watching, guys.